Picture this. It's a normal Tuesday. Nothing dramatic. You wake up, grab your phone, check your bank app, and everything looks fine. Then your car doesn't start. Not a crash, not an emergency, just that sound. Click, click, nothing. You already know what's coming next. Tow truck mechanic. Yeah, so the battery's dead, and while we're in here, your brain isn't thinking about transportation anymore. It's thinking, can I afford this right now? Not long term, not next paycheck, right now. Because here's the thing, the problem isn't the car. The problem is what happens inside your head the moment you realize this isn't a minor inconvenience. It's a financial event. And for most people, the difference between those two things comes down to one number, not your salary, not your credit score, not your investments. One very boring, very unsexy number, $2,000 in liquid cash. My name is Mike, and I spend way too much time thinking about how money quietly controls our stress levels. And if you're someone who's ever felt your chest tighten over a bill that shouldn't be a big deal, or someone who's doing okay financially but still feels one bad surprise away from panic, make sure to hit that subscribe button and give this video a thumbs up if this helps you out. Because today we're talking about the $2,000 rule and why it's the invisible line between feeling like life is fragile and feeling like life is manageable. Here's the assumption most people get wrong. Most financial advice starts at the wrong place. It tells you to invest early, max your retirement, build passive income, think long term. All good advice. But here's what most people don't realize. You cannot think long term if your nervous system is stuck in survival mode, and survival mode has a price tag. The real function of emergency cash, and it's not what you think it is. People think emergency savings are about math. They're not. They're about psychology. Emergency cash doesn't exist to make you rich. It exists to prevent panic decisions. Because when you don't have a small buffer, every minor problem turns into stress, shame, rash choices, bad debt. And once that cycle starts, wealth building stops completely. Why $2,000 is the threshold, not $10,000, not $100. Now you might be thinking, Mike, $2,000 isn't that much money. Or on the flip side, Mike, $2,000 feels impossible right now. Both reactions make sense, but $2,000 shows up again and again in behavioral finance research as a psychological tipping point. Here's why. The most common financial emergencies cost this much. Let's list the stuff that actually derails people. Car repair, $800 to $1,500. Emergency flight, $600 to $1,200. Medical copay/tests, $500 to $2,000. Rent shortfall, approximately $1,000. Notice something? Most life disruptions don't cost $10,000. They cluster right under $2,000. So when you have that amount sitting in cash, something magical happens. The event doesn't disappear, but the emotional spike does. Crisis versus inconvenience. This is the core idea. Let's define the difference. A crisis triggers panic, forces borrowing, creates shame, leads to worse decisions. An inconvenience annoys you, interrupts your plans, costs money, then life continues. Same event, different internal reaction, the only variable, liquidity. Here's where it gets really interesting. When people don't have this buffer, they do something far more expensive than paying the bill. They trade future freedom for present relief, credit cards, payday loans, BNPL, borrowing from friends, raiding retirement accounts, all because they were short a relatively small amount of cash. The hidden interest rate of panic. Let's do some math. You're hit with a $1,200 car repair. Without $2,000 saved, you put it on a credit card at 24%. APR minimum payments stretch it over 3 years total cost, approximately $1,650. That repair just got 37% more expensive, and that's the best case scenario. The real cost? Stress, missed opportunities, delayed investing, mental fatigue. That's the tax nobody calculates. The brain science part, why this number changes everything. Here's something wild. When people cross a small cash threshold, often around $1,500 to $2,500, brain scans show reduced activity in areas linked to threat detection. In plain English, your brain stops screaming. You stop overreacting, catastrophizing, saying yes to bad deals, saying no to good opportunities. You gain decision clarity, and clarity is worth more than returns. Why high earners still feel broke. This is why someone earning $120,000 can feel more stressed than someone earning $60,000. Income doesn't calm the nervous system. Liquidity does. If your money is locked in investments, eaten by lifestyle promised to future bills, then emotionally you're still fragile. That's why raises often don't reduce anxiety. They increase spending, not safety. The $2,000 rule in practice. Here's the rule. Before you worry about index funds, side hustles, real estate, you need $2,000 in boring, accessible cash. Not invested, not earning, not locked away, just there. Objection. Isn't cash a bad investment? Yes, and that's the point. This money is not an investment. It's insurance for your decision making. You don't complain that car insurance doesn't grow, you're paying for peace. How to build it without feeling overwhelmed. Here's the mistake people make. They try to save $2,000 emotionally. That feels impossible. Instead, break it into identity shifts. Step 1. Rename the account. Call it Crisis Filter, No Panic Fund, Life Buffer. Language matters. Step 2. Automate $50 to $100. This isn't about speed, it's about inevitability. Step 3. No guilt withdrawals. If it turns a crisis into an inconvenience, it did its job. What changes after you hit $2,000? This is my favorite part. People report better sleep, less impulsive spending, more patience, higher risk tolerance, the good kind, fewer arguments about money. Not because they're richer, because they're calmer. If this video helped you reframe money in a new way, hit that like button. Subscribe if you want more deep dives into the psychology behind money, not just surface level advice. And let me know in the comments, what expense would stop being a crisis if you had $2,000 sitting in cash?